The affordable single-cylinder performance motorcycle segment is seeing a lot of options, and Yamaha has not one but two options with the R15 version 3 and the FZ25. Now obviously a lot of you are confused which of these two motorcycles should you be buying, and in today's video I'm going to clear the confusion and tell you which is the Yamaha motorcycle for you. In terms of design, it's a no contest at all. The R15 version 3 just looks gorgeous, and there's not a single angle on the R15 which looks lesser than that on the FZ25, because the FZ25, in spite of being chunky and being inspired by bigger Yamaha street fighters, just doesn't have the street presence of the R15. The R15 looks gorgeous from every possible angle. It is inspired from the bigger R6 as well as the R1, and the design actually makes it look like a bigger motorcycle, not really a 150cc machine. That advantage of the styling is carried over to the instrument cluster as well. Now both these motorcycles get an all-digital unit. The one on the R15 is much more legible, easier to read, and also offers more information such as a gear position indicator as well as a shift light. Both these motorcycles get twin trip meters as well as a clock. They also get real-time mileage indicator as well as average fuel efficiency indicators. Both these motorcycles get similar switchgear on the left side of the handlebar. However, on the right, although the buttons are more or less the same, the design on the R15 shows that there is lesser cost cutting on the full-fed motorcycle over here. Yes, there are quality issues with both the motorcycles, like the FZ25 is suffering from rusting issues. Meanwhile, the R15 version 3's tank, well, it's not built to Yamaha standards. Now obviously there's a day and night difference between the riding positions of both these motorcycles, because one is a full-fed machine, the other is a street fighter. The R15 is extremely uncomfortable, very dedicated, and not the one for long rides. Meanwhile, the FZ25 is extremely comfortable, very upright, and the motorcycle if you want to ride long distances. Even in terms of pillion comfort, it is the FZ25 which is far superior than the R15. And that difference between chalk and cheese is continued to the powertrain as well, because the one on the R15 has lesser displacement, lesser power, lesser torque as well. It uses a 150cc engine, which by the way gets the state-of-the-art 4 valves as well as liquid cooling. In comparison, the FZ25's engine has more displacement, more power, more torque, which comes at lower RPMs, giving it an inherent advantage over here. But the engine hardware is very old school. It uses 2 valves and air cooling. As they say, there is no replacement for displacement, because the FZ25 produces 1.6 PS more and 33% more torque than the R15, and all of it comes much more earlier. Thus, the FZ25 is faster off the line, and the R15 just can't keep up with the FZ25 in terms of outright acceleration and even low-end performance, because the city rideability offered by the FZ25 is just brilliant. It has so much punch lower down. Meanwhile, the R15, you really have to push it past the mid-range to get going somewhere quickly. And the overall result is that this motorcycle is faster by almost 2 seconds than the R15 version 3 in terms of 0 to 100 km/h acceleration. Meanwhile, the top speed of both the motorcycles are very similar. However, the R15 version 3 gets a big advantage in terms of top speed, because the power is top-end centric. It really screams to the red line. It redlines at a higher RPM than the FZ25, and due to the aerodynamics of this machine, it is 15 km/h faster in terms of top speed alone. The FZ25 has a better sound note. It is bassy right from get-go. However, if you want to enjoy the R15's exhaust note, you have to push it past 7000 RPM, where the motor starts to scream. The R15 version 3 gets a 6-speed gearbox assisted by a slipper clutch. Meanwhile, the FZ25 gets a 5-speed unit. The gearbox on the R15 is just much better in shifts. And in terms of mileage too, it's the R15 which is better by 5 kilometers per litre, obviously because of the smaller engine. Now here is where the big difference comes, because the R15 has superior hardware. It is underpinned by a perimeter frame. The FZ25 is underpinned by a diamond frame. The R15's riding position, coupled with the fact that it just has the better setup for handling, makes it annihilate the FZ25 through the corners. It is so feedback rich, gives you tremendous amount of confidence to push hard and fast. Meanwhile, the FZ25 feels a bit soft in comparison. It isn't a motorcycle which really reassures you through the corners, but yes, it is easy to ride because of the straight handlebar. Meanwhile, the R15 gets a clip-on unit which also inspires a lot of confidence, gives the rider tremendous amount of feedback. Yes, this is the motorcycle for the track. FZ25 is actually far away from the racetrack. Yamaha has shared a lot of cycle parts between both these motorcycles. The front suspension is the same, so are the tires as well as the brakes too. And yes, the big difference here is the rear suspension, which is superior on the R15 version 3, aiding in better handling and better braking as well, because there's just better feel at the levers. But due to the softer suspension setup compared to the R15's stiffer setup, it's the FZ25 which offers better ride quality on Indian roads. In spite of the FZ25 weighing 9 kgs higher than the R15 version 3, it is actually the R15 which offers better high-speed stability. And in terms of practical bits, the FZ25 excels because it has better mirrors than the R15. It also gets grab rails, which makes it more practical for the pillion as well. And in terms of headlight illumination, it is the R15 which is slightly better. And overall, both these motorcycles don't offer good amount of throw from their headlights at night. The FZ25 also gets a fuel tank which is bigger by 3 liters, which means that it actually negates the fuel efficiency advantage of the R15 in terms of range. And while both these motorcycles have the same tires in terms of dimensions and make, it is actually the R15 which offers slightly better grip due to the riding position. Yes, the pegs are rear set, meanwhile the FZ25's center set pegs give it more comfort. If you're in the market for a full-fed sports bike which isn't high on displacement, well, you have no option other than the R15 version 3 till Aprilia launches the RS150. But if you're looking for a street fighter which is more on comfort, is practical and is just much more easier to live with, then the FZ25 is not the only option in the market. There are plenty of options at this price point. The R15 costs rupees 4,000 more than the FZ25 and rupees 9,000 if you factor in the recently launched MotoGP limited edition. Now between both these Yamaha motorcycles, which is the one you should be buying? Well, it all depends on your requirements. If you are the kind of person who doesn't ride that frequently, isn't stuck in traffic, and most importantly are young and want to make a style statement wherever you go, like in college, or you ride only on the weekends and go to the track or probably the canyons, which we like to call as ghats over here, then it is the R15 version 3 that you should opt for. However, if you want a more practical motorcycle, a motorcycle which is at home on Indian conditions, is more comfortable, has more punch lower down, then it is the FZ25 that you should opt for. All you would like to say that if you could push your purchase by a few months, then both these motorcycles are going to get ABS as well.